Hi, this is Grace Power, and I'm with My Gold Sugar. This is video number 3 in a series of 10 videos on how to get started with sugaring. Today I'm going to be talking about the temperature of how hot to heat up your sugar before starting with it. So, before I even get into the different temperatures, I will say that you can a lot of times use the sugar without heating it up at all, especially the medium to medium soft to soft sugars. They're going to be soft enough you can usually get your hand into the jar and kind of pull out a little piece to start with. And then as you work with it from your hand temperature and from the body temperature that you're working on, it will warm up to the perfect consistency. So that is an option if you don't have a way to heat it up, or you don't have the time to heat it up, or whatever the situation might be. And if you're in a more humid environment, I've traveled quite a bit over the last few years, and I've noticed, like in Florida and in Texas, my sugar would be softer already just because of the humidity. So in those cases, it was easier to grab a piece of sugar out. Plus, if your room temperature is warmer than like 73, 75 degrees, a lot of times the sugar is warm enough that you can grab a piece out. And especially if it's like, 80 degrees in the room, you probably don't need to heat up your sugar. So now if you are going to heat up your sugar, just to make it easier to start with, to make it easier to glide on, and to make it easier to hold in your hand and even grab a ball of sugar out, you really don't need to heat it very much. And I would say always underheat the sugar instead of overheat it, because people are always surprised at how little of heat it takes to warm up the sugar. So what I do when I'm working with the sugar at home, I have a microwave, and I put it in the microwave for about 10 to 30 seconds. If it's a full jar and it hasn't been used at all, I'll usually put it in for 30 seconds because it's all the way full, and that seems to be the right temperature, at least for my microwave. Every microwave is going to be a little different, so if you're unsure, if it's your first time trying it out, just start with 10 seconds and kind of feel if you can pull out a piece of sugar. It's probably at the perfect consistency. You want to make sure it's still thick. You're not trying to make honey with your sugar or make it look like a wax. You are trying to just get a ball of sugar, and then as you work with it, it's going to be at the perfect temperature. So 30 seconds is good for me on a full jar. If the jar is half full, you probably want to do like 15 seconds. And of course, if you're getting to the bottom of your jar and you just have a little bit in there, even 5 to 7 seconds might be enough just to soften it up to grab out that piece of sugar at the bottom. So some things to keep in mind when heating your sugar. Now, if you are wanting to use the sugar in the strip method, which we talked about in the last video, if you're using the soft, especially for doing like legs or something, and you want to put it on with the strip method, you want to heat the sugar so it is softer and smoother. Otherwise, when you're putting it on with the stick, it's going to be really slow going, and you're going to be struggling with it, and you could even break your popsicle stick, which I have done before with not having the sugar warmed up enough, and then you're trying to put it on, and even the stick will break because it's just so firm and not melting fast enough. So in that case, you can actually use all the sugars as a strip method: the firm, medium soft, or soft. Any of them you can use as a strip method. And if you're doing a large area, like a back or legs or arms, then that's when I'd recommend heating it so that it is more closer to a honey consistency. So in that case, you do want it to be more of a honey consistency, but make sure to test it on an area before, especially before doing like your face or an area, just to make sure it's not going to be scalding. The sugar, if it does get too hot, it takes a long time to cool down. I've overheated it by accident, especially when I was first learning sugaring, and I wasn't sure like how long to put it in the microwave and stuff. So I would put it in the freezer and let it cool down, because otherwise, if you just sit it out on the counter, it's going to take a long time to cool down. It's just it gets really hot and it holds its heat for a long time. Now the good thing about that is that if you do heat it up for, like, let's say you do it for 30 seconds in the microwave, you get a ball of sugar and you're using it, and 5-10 minutes goes by, you're ready to throw that ball away and get a fresh ball. The sugar should still be warm enough and perfect temperature to grab out the next ball. It usually stays, I would say it stays at a good temperature. It holds its heat for about a half hour, so at least 20 minutes. So usually that's long enough to do whatever area you're doing. If you are doing, like, big areas or something, you might have to reheat the sugar a little bit. And if you are doing the strip method, where you want it to be that honey consistency, then you probably do need to just zap it a little bit more, about every 15 minutes or so, just to kind of get it back to that honey consistency, or maybe at least every 20 minutes. So hopefully that answers all the questions you may have about the temperature of sugar. That is a very common question we get from people when they're first starting, like, how hot do I heat it? How do I heat it? If that doesn't answer your questions and you still are wondering about anything specific that I may have left out, be sure to get a hold of us. You can contact us on our phone number, or contact us through our email, mypinkwink1@gmail.com, or just go to the website, mygoldsugar.com. There's a contact us form there, and you can fill it out, send in your questions, and we'll get back to you in at least 2 to 3 days. We're usually pretty good about answering those questions. So stay tuned for the next video. This will be our 4th video coming up, and I'm going to be talking about how to hold the sugar so you have the most control of the sugar. See you in the next video.